Hey there, Mike Robbins here, coming to you live. It's a little after 11 a.m. Pacific time on Thursday, the 16th of December. If you're joining live on LinkedIn or Facebook or YouTube, would love to hear from you, where you are, how you are, what's going on. If you have questions or comments, if you're watching the video of this afterwards, feel free to drop a question or a comment in the comment section, and I will try to respond after the fact as well. So I want to talk. This is going to be my last social live before the end of the year, I think, unless I get a bug up my what to come on here next week or the week after. But I'm mostly going to be laying low and enjoying the holidays. But I want to talk about the holidays, actually. And I have kind of a love-hate relationship with the holidays myself. I always have, or at least most of my adult life, I should say, for a number of reasons. And this year in particular, I've just been thinking a lot about it. So look, I mean, as a kid, I loved Christmas specifically. It was fun, and it was the one time a year I felt comfortable enough asking for things. And it wasn't so much about the stuff, although maybe it was a little bit. I'd like to think I wasn't super materialistic as a kid. It was more just like, we didn't have a lot of money growing up. And so it was super stressful a lot of times, just around stuff and needing new clothes and new shoes and stuff for school. Like the essentials weren't easy to get. So things on top of it, like toys and fun stuff was kind of, maybe a little bit for my birthday and then for Christmas. So that part, and I liked the festiveness of it. And growing up, raised by a single mom in a house that was falling apart and kind of in disrepair, and we didn't have a lot of people over, and it was the one time a year my mom got excited about the house, because it was like we put the tree up and we decorate and we'd clean up a little. And so that part felt kind of nice. And the music and the smells and the presents and the songs and just all of the stuff around it, I really enjoyed that. Now, as I got a little older, went off to college and then started to get out into the world as an adult, it was a little bit weirder and harder and stranger, because it wasn't about Santa Claus and asking my mom for Legos and Star Wars figures and whatever it was. But so, and then Michelle and I meet and move in together and then get married and start having babies. And so trying to come up with like new traditions and new stuff, and sort of missing some of the old stuff and integrating some of the new stuff, that I found to be challenging. And then some of the hype and the pressure, the financial stuff around it, or you got to get a good gift and you got to get it run, get a good deal and on time and get it wrapped and be the right thing. And what do they want? And then 20 years ago, my dad died. And my parents split up when I was 3, and ironically, my dad was Jewish. So, holiday traditions were a little unique with him. But there were some things that we did around Christmas and Hanukkah with my dad that were important. So when he died, I remember he died in December, actually, December 11th, 2001. So 20 years ago. And that first Christmas, that first Hanukkah, that first New Year's, that first holiday season, all the way through like his birthday and my birthday and the next year. And then it started to be this thing. And as I was 27 when he died. And people lose their parents even younger than that, but a lot of people have their parents around for a lot longer than that. So I remember just feeling like I felt too young to have my dad die. And it was in the holiday season, and it sort of felt connected. And then there was that sort of melancholy that would come to me around the holidays. And then 10 years ago, my mom died. And again, things had changed and evolved in our relationship. And so Christmas was more focused on Michelle and our girls and our nuclear family than my mom, and growing up in my house and coming downstairs on Christmas morning. But there was a lot of traditions that were sort of tied up in, and things that my mom really loved about Christmas. And then 6 years ago, my sister died. And, Lori dying of cancer at 45 was really sad and hard for a lot of reasons. She died right after the holidays in early January, right before her birthday. But so now here I am at 47, almost 48 years old. And like, when the holidays come around, I think about my dad, I think about my mom, I think about my sister. There's no one in my life, even though I have friends and other family members that I've known for a long time, who we're really intimately connected with the holidays in the way that my mom and my sister were specifically, and even my dad. So that part's weird. And like, I don't going through the Christmas box. It's fun to do that with the girls and with Michelle and some of our traditions, but then there's all the stuff from childhood and adolescence and young adulthood. And so anyway, I say that that's some of my own personal experience. I also find this time of year I'm usually pretty tired just from the year and from work and from travel. And this year, although I haven't been traveling nearly as much, although a little bit more recently, it's been a very different year. It's even different than last year was. And both of these years, 2020 and 2021, have been really challenging for so many of us. And 2020 was a super challenging year in the country and the world, with the pandemic, with social unrest, with an election, with so many things. There was so much turmoil and tumult, and 2021 has not been quite as intense in that same way. And we've gotten started to get vaccinated and things have opened up, and we're moving around into where it seems more normal. But for me personally, for our family personally, 2021 has been a much harder year, more challenging mentally, emotionally, just energetically. So I'm feeling extra tired at this time of year. And then it's like, be happy, it's the holidays, 'tis the season to be jolly. And it's like, I don't know. I don't usually feel jolly when people tell me to feel jolly. I don't even know what jolly actually means. I guess joyful and happy and uplifted. I don't know. But, and again, I don't mean to be a downer or a bummer, because look, we do have a Christmas tree. Our house is decorated. I do like listening to the music and eating the food and doing the traditions, and Christmas morning and Christmas Eve are fun. I mean, like, I'm not, but I really enjoy the week between Christmas and New Year's, to be honest, because that's where like a lot of the hype, a lot of the pressure, a lot of the expectation. Now it's like a long, 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 long weekend to just kind of chill and reflect. And I may come actually back on and do another social live at the very end of the year on the 30th or 31st, just to talk about completing the year, because I usually do a podcast episode on that same topic every year. But anyway, so look, if you're having challenges right now, if you're feeling sad, if you're feeling disappointed, depressed, lonely, isolated, you're not alone. If you're feeling grateful and excited and joyful and fired up, like, you're also not alone. There are people, most of us are feeling some mixture of those, maybe closer to the, sad, lonely, grief stricken, disappointed, or maybe closer to the happy, joyful, grateful. But life's a mixed bag, especially these days. The holidays are a mixed bag a lot of times. So I just think it's important to acknowledge the challenge, the emotional tumult that often comes with this time of year. Just a lot of things that remind us of things, for better or worse. And I think it's important that we acknowledge that. And then there's family dynamics, and there's pressure, and there's this, and there's, you know, Aunt Joe and Aunt Susie and our parents and our in-laws and our kids and our aging parents and our, do we leave and go home, and where do we spend it, and are people disappointed or upset, and all the stuff, right? And even in a small nuclear family like ours with the four of us, all four of us have different expectations, different wants, different desires, different interests. And it changes, by the way. I mean, if you have kids, like our girls are 15 and 13 now, there are different things they're interested in general, but even as it relates to the holidays. And I have to keep adjusting, like, okay, they're not 8 and 6 anymore. The elf on the shelf is not as interesting as it used to be, or whatever, right? So anyway, whatever your story is, whatever your version of this is, whatever's going on for you, I just want to honor and acknowledge whatever process you're in and however you're feeling. And I want to offer a few tips, a few suggestions for what we can all do to navigate the holidays with as much authenticity and grace as possible. I think the first thing that's important for us to do, and this is true most of the time, but especially right now, is be real about how we feel. There's no right way to feel ever, but especially right now. You're not supposed to feel joyful just because it's, the middle of December. Maybe you do, maybe you don't, but be real. How do you feel? What's going on and what's coming up for you? Is there that sadness and that grief and that disappointment and that longing and that heartbreak or heartache or whatever, or, joy, love, gratitude, whatever it is, but just be real about it with yourself first and foremost, maybe with close friends or family, maybe with a counselor or a therapist or a coach or people on your team or whoever, but just be real about it. The second thing is related to this, but take care of yourself. Do you need some downtime? Do you need some alone time? Do you need to just I know it can be this weird, like there's the end of the year rush at work. And this is kind of like today, tomorrow, feel like sort of the last real work days in the business world. I mean, next week, people will still be doing a little work early in the week, but then Christmas comes. And then that week between Christmas and New Year's is kind of, like I said, a long, long weekend, although we may still have stuff to do, depending on the kind of work we do, of course. But take care of yourself. Can you take a break? Can you unplug? Can you go out and get around people? I mean, look, for better or worse, we're moving around a lot more now than we were a year ago, thankfully. So hopefully we can see some people that we love or do some things that are fun, that are joyful, that we do enjoy, but care for ourselves, get some rest, take a break if you can. The third thing is that it's important for us to communicate with the people closest to us. What are our expectations? People can't read our minds. They're not supposed to, even the people that love us and know us the best. So communicate our expectations, how we feel, what's going on internally, what we need to take care of ourselves, but what are our expectations, maybe some boundaries that we have, but also ask for help, ask for support. Last night I was feeling super stressed out. I got a couple pieces of feedback that were kind of intense, and I had a couple things that were due today that I had to do earlier today before I came on to do this. And it was like a bunch of stuff just sort of hit the fan all at once. And I was like spinning sideways. And I came out here to my office, which is a little disconnected from the house. And I texted Michelle, and it was raining. So I just said, could you come out here? I could really use a minute if you have it. And she came out, and it was blustery and rainy. I mean, she had to, whatever, but she comes out, and I just said, can I share with you some of what's really coming up for me and stressing me out right now? And can you just listen and hold space for me? And she was awesome. And this and that. And she totally heard me and got me. And it was fantastic. It was exactly what I needed. And I'm grateful to be married to someone who's so amazing like that and has enough mental and emotional space, even in the midst of everything going on. But can we ask for support from our spouse, from our friends, from our children, from our teammates, from our whoever? Even if you have no person to ask, can you ask for divine guidance and inspiration or support? Or sometimes last night when I went to bed, I actually said a little prayer, like, can you help me sort out some of these stresses and challenges? And I actually woke up, not like magically they'd all figured themselves out, but I was in a different mind space this morning and was able to tackle the things I needed to tackle more effectively. The fourth thing, and this relates to what I was talking about last week when I came on here live and what I talked about on my podcast, is try to be mindful of the trap of comparison. Hey, John, good to see you. Yeah, you and I both are really lucky to have great spouses, aren't we? If you're fortunate enough to have a great spouse, let's be grateful for that as much as we can. But the trap of comparison. So what happens, right? We go on Facebook, we go on Instagram, we go on LinkedIn or any of social media, and we start seeing people, oh, look what they're doing. Oh, look what they're doing. Oh, they're going on this trip. Oh, their house looks really great. Oh, look at their Christmas tree. Oh, look what they're, whatever, right? You get the holiday cards in the mail, right? Oh, look at them. Everybody in that family's so beautiful and they seem so happy. And look at their dog and look at their house or whatever the heck it is. Oh, they went on vacation to Hawaii, whatever, right? Look, to compare is human, is normal. We do it. But as much as we can, to be mindful of not comparing our life and our experience to other people's. We don't know what's really going on in people's lives and homes. And most of us are posting and sharing like the highlight reel. I mean, you don't post the picture of like your kids screaming at each other on vacation. You post the picture of everybody smiling in front of the Christmas tree or in front of the sunset or whatever. So, I mean, again, we get ourselves caught into that trap of comparison. It takes us out of our experience and gets us spinning in an unhealthy way. And finally, I think most importantly, can we have grace for ourselves, for other people? Look, most of us aren't playing with a full deck these days. Most of us are pretty exhausted, weary, tired, bruised, beaten up. Again, I'm not whining, complaining, trying to be a martyr myself, but it's been a pretty intense last 21 months, let's be honest. And this year. So can we have grace for ourselves? Most everyone's doing the best they can. You're doing the best you can. I'm doing the best I can. Our spouses, our children, our teammates, our friends, our neighbors, like people are doing the best they can, even if it doesn't seem like it, even if we don't totally understand. We are going to look back on this time in a year, in 5 years, in 10 years, if we're fortunate enough to still be around and go, Oh my gosh, we're like frogs in water, right? They tell us that thing, you put the frog in the boiling water, they jump out. Put the frog in the cold water and then turn the heat up gradually, gradually, gradually. It gets hotter and hotter and hotter. And eventually the darn frog boils to death because they don't even realize how hot it's gotten. We've gotten into some pretty hot water collectively through all this. And I don't know that we fully understand or appreciate the intensity of it, but have grace for yourself, have compassion for yourself, have grace and compassion for others. Happy holidays to you, whatever holidays you celebrate. If you've already celebrated Hanukkah, happy Hanukkah. If you celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas. If you disengage from all of it, Happy New Year. Again, I may come back on the 30th, 31st to do a little year completion thing. I'll definitely be talking about that on my podcast. And I'll probably come on after the first of the year to talk about New Year's stuff. But I will be taking the next couple of weeks for some downtime, some family connection, some self-care. But I wish you all the best. I'm grateful that we're connected here on Facebook or LinkedIn or YouTube or wherever you watch these videos and connect with me. I appreciate your interest in my work. Feel free to leave a comment or a question. If there's any topics you want me to cover in the new year, I will look forward to connecting with you then. Be well. Happy holidays.